Hello and welcome to Arsenal Above All. I hope all is well. Tonight I'm in the company of another two of the Celebration Police's most wanted. That's Lauren and Neil. Before they go sort of underground and go into hiding, I'm going to get their thoughts on a pretty special week for Arsenal. In like last since our last show, we should have had a Champions League show, but kids and Halloween settings got in the way, so we couldn't do a show for that. But we'll talk about the amazing win in Spain and the brilliant win yesterday and everything that came with it. But before that, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show. I have Lauren Dempsey with us tonight. Thanks for your time, Lauren, and a delight to have you back. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm very looking forward to it. When you offered this game, I was delighted. I thought, yeah, okay, at least we're going to have hopefully a positive result to speak about. And yeah, it's definitely what we have today anyway.
Yeah, and I called you a jinx for that, but thankfully it all worked out. So nice one. So thanks for your time as always. Thanks for coming back. And I also have the man, the myth, the legend, and that is Mr. Neil Shah, who almost got the score right in his predictions, which he did on the Purely Arsenal pod. He got the prediction right for the Seville match as well. So well done, Neil. So how are you, Neil? Good to have you back.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Great to see Lauren as always, and yourself. So looking forward to talking about a nice spanking. It's always a pleasure to talk about those ones. Isn't it? Don't come that often, but
yeah, it's about time we've had one, isn't it? It's been a while. Yeah. So thanks for your time, guys. Really appreciate it. So yes, been a special few days. Obviously, a momentous win in Spain, which we'll touch on later. But we'll crack on with the performance yesterday. Neil, I know you was there, so interested to hear your takes on what it was like in the stadium and things that you may have seen, which obviously weren't picked up by the cameras. But start with you, Lauren, and we'll start with the usual grenade that gets chucked into the Arsenal multiverse when it happens at an hour before kickoff, and that's the lineup. So were you surprised at that, or did you think maybe too many changes? I know myself and Neil in one of the group chats, we sort of worried about the amount of changes, and it probably was more so about what we did last season when we made some changes and how we were chasing games because we made an early mistake. But with the lineup, was there any worries about that, or was there anyone that you may have wanted to see rather than who was actually put in?
I think the big surprise for me was Odegaard being dropped. Obviously him being captain. He obviously hasn't had the best run of form over the past few games. In saying that, I was delighted to see Smith Rowe get a run in, especially I think it was his first Premier League start in over 500 days or something crazy like that. There was a lot of change, but I think given injuries, given the really tough run of games that we're going into now as well, yeah, I think it was understandable. The midfield was interesting, and I'm sure you probably all thought the same as well. It was definitely not the first choice midfield I would have gone for. But look, we have to be realistic here. We're in the thick of the games now. With all due respect to Sheffield United, they're not the most challenging team that we're going to come up against this season. So it was a really great opportunity to rest some of those players who maybe, are not quite in the best form at the moment. Players like Gabriel, who play week in, week out last year. So look, I thought it was a good opportunity to take. And as you said, if the result had not have been as good as it was, I think it would have been a different story. But no, I think obviously Arteta is really trying to rotate the team and not allow players to get injured this season. And I think you can see exactly what he did here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, touching on with that, with players not getting injured, he also wants to keep players engaged as well, doesn't he, Neil? I think that was why you saw Kivior start, which was bit out of left field. I don't think anybody predicted that. But again, you know, I think his last. I mean, I know I can't remember if he came on against Seville last minute or not. I can't remember. My mum might be playing tricks, but I know he played against Brentford in the League Cup, and he played well. So that might have been his last start. But him, ESR, or obviously played as well. Obviously, Eddie came in to start. Do you think that was a key as well to keep players, you know, engaged and play them when they can, and obviously taking into account the opposition, you know, as bad as they are, or you know, they have had very close defeats against some of the big teams. Obviously, we know what happened when they lost to Tottenham and Man United as well. It was only the Newcastle game. Do you think that was a part of his plan as well this season going in as well, to keep players engaged, Neil, and keep them, you know, giving them minutes where he can?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I've been very kind of angry with the fact that some of the players sitting on the bench or not getting into the squad at all have not been featured. I've been concerned that they might start losing interest, might even think about an exit plan, because at the end of the day, if you're good and you can't even get in, you know, where does that leave you as a player or as an individual? Such players such as Smith-Rowe, etc. I welcomed it, to be fair. I mean, I saw the changes, and at first I thought, wow, he's dropped the captain. But then I thought to myself, hang on a minute, he's made changes all around the park. And maybe if you can't do it against Sheffield United when they've lost their last 5 games or whatever it is, you know, they've got 1 point. You're not going to get a better chance to, again, as Lauren said, with all due respect to them, they are probably the team to do it against. And especially being home, maybe if we were away to them, he might have not made such wholesome changes. But because we were at home, because we've come off a good win, you know, in Europe, maybe the mood was buoyant. Maybe this was the time to do it. I was really pleased, obviously, to see him Smith-Rowe. I feel that he has to be an integral part of this club, and especially for our future, or short term, if not long term, or short to mid term. Sorry, I should say. But Kiwior I loved as well, and I think this podcast we're going to laud about Eddie and Tomiyasu as well, and certain other players. But I think we must give Kiwior mention. From whatever I saw of him, he was absolutely solid. He was brilliant at what he did. He is the perfect replacement for Gabriel when we need that replacement. Just fabulous. And the other thing I thought, that he might be doing this not just for keeping them in the game, but also the fact that we've got a League Cup game coming up in the middle of the week, and I think those 2 for sure will be starting. So you know, and maybe he wanted to give their legs a bit of a run, see how they get on fitness wise. So I actually welcomed it all. I didn't have any problems at all, and I actually was quite glad to see Havertz where he was too.
Because he was on the right hand side. Yeah,
that's right. And I'm thinking he's been getting so much stick, and he's not. He's one of these players that it doesn't make it obvious what he does, but there's certain things that I saw yesterday that it's all very off the ball movement, and he's very strong. He's actually showing a lot more strength when he's on a 1-to-1 situation. I just saw that his awareness was slightly better. I think he's getting slightly better each game, and he's finally tuning himself and getting used to playing for us. And just bear in mind, I know a lot of people hate it when you make these comparisons, but even the greats such as Bergkamp and Henry, they took time to adjust to our club. And I think he's going to be a good player. I still have a lot of faith. I know there's certain people that think, no, that's enough. It's not working. He's not worth the money, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I think there's a good player in him, and I'm glad that he was featured too. Mildly disappointed. I'm going on really long, so I'll shut up in a minute. I still do feel sorry for Ramsdale. I thought if he was going to do changes like that, yesterday was an ideal time to give Ramsdale a go. And if he plays in middle of the week, now he's been demoted to the Cups. It's 100%. I was a little bit annoyed with that because Raya has been, he shows some solid stuff now as well as the bad. So you got the good and the bad with Raya. But I still feel so down for Ramsdale being completely ousted by Arteta. But let's see what happens.
Yeah, we'll touch on Ramsdale a bit more because he's going to play midweek. He's going to probably he's going to have to play against Brentford in a couple of weeks down the line as well, because obviously Raya can't play in that one, and it's going to be like he's going to be jettisoned in and then back out again, and it's going to be a bit awkward for him. You know what I mean? It's not like is he going to be playing a couple of games leading up to that. There's even Arsene Wenger's come out and today, I don't know if you saw, he's sort of had a say about the situation, and he said he doesn't believe in doing that type of thing with goalkeepers. There needs to be hierarchy there, and but he doesn't feel Ramsdale should go. He feels that he should fight for his place and he'll get a chance again. But it was interesting that he had that way. But Arsenal's maybe looking at things in the way that he's looking at it, and obviously you're looking at things the way Arteta and Guardiola and De Zerbi, they look at it things completely different now, because De Zerbi does that as well, but no one really says anything about it. He plays. He plays his keepers every 2 games or whatever. He swaps it in and out. But yeah, we'll probably talk about that a bit later. But Neil, just staying with you, so I'm going to have you talking a little bit longer. So unfortunately, sorry, you haven't got a chance to have a swig of you when you do. What you was there? What was the atmosphere like in the beginning? Because obviously United had this low block, and we kind of knew they were going to do that, and that allowed people like obviously Zinchenko to almost be like a super deep line number 10. He was doing some crazy stuff, and he got onto a couple of end of things. What was the atmosphere like? Was it like obviously the last home game was against City when we were in the league, so what was it like there? Was it a case of people just being a bit flat, in terms of the opposition, or was it just like almost expectancy, waiting for things to happen? What was it like? And obviously your take on Havertz was interesting as well, because I was going to come to that. Just you spot anything else, how they were going about trying to unlock Sheffield United, because it was funny that chance came after there was a break in play, and I think it was Martinelli got injured, and it seemed like Sheffield United switched off, and then we kind of capitalised on that. But what was your thoughts on just the whole feel around the stadium at that time?
It's hard for me to say that, and believe it or not. I know you're thinking, what's he talking about? He was at the stadium, but I was actually behind the goal. I've not sat in this place for years, so I was right behind the goal with the away fans, where the Ashburton Army are. So all I was hearing was loud noise and cheering and singing and drums. So for me, there was no change. The atmosphere was still as vibrant as it always is. I didn't see any kind of come down from it. If it just a very brief overview of the first half hour or whatever it was, I didn't think it was a great game to watch, to be fair. I thought it was very kind of droll. I thought we were in second gear. We couldn't even come out of second gear. I don't think there was much going on. There was much creativity. But again, you see, when you're sitting right behind the goal, it's really difficult to gauge everything or all the movement on the pitch. Normally where I sit, I've got the view of the whole pitch side on like we do on the TV. It's easier to make a kind of an assessment. But here it's slightly harder. But in terms of the actual atmosphere and the fans, from where we were, no issues at all. We were still singing, shouting, chanting, cheering the players on, and that's what I love. This is the old supporters kind of mindset in the ground in the olden days, or now I'm saying olden days, probably only 2, 3, 4 years ago. It's crazy, isn't it? But we'd get on the players' backs. There'll be hushes, there'll be boos and oohs, and oh God, what are we doing this for? What are we playing like this for? You'd think that the way we played there, I thought there was a lot of side-to-side pattern as well. It was weird to see. I was with my friend Dean. I was saying to him, I said, God, it looks like we're just going side to side, backwards and forwards, and nothing's really happening. 2, 3, 4 years ago, God, the fans would have gotten the players back for that. It's so different now. We just give them encouragement and throw encouragement at them, and I think that is really helping the team and really helping the players. But I think, to be fair to our players, they had a low block. It was very difficult to get anything through initially. So, I'm glad. You're right. There's that break. I think it might have unsettled the Sheffield United players for a moment. It might have thrown them off guard a little bit, and then we took the opportunity. But again, I'm not going to go forward too much, but that spark, that first goal, changed everything. Then we were a different animal going into the end of the first half and then into the second. So, that's how I saw it.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Come to you, Lauren. In terms of that first goal, Rice got a kind of fortunate assist. It seemed like he just fired it into the danger area, really. But Eddie, being probably, I think it goes without saying, he's probably the best finisher at the club, and he's proved it. Obviously, there, in his hat trick was just the execution of each goal was just superb. But that first goal just releases, the relief is off. Everyone's, yes, we're 1-0 up. We haven't conceded a goal after 1 minute, which was great for me. We're kind of thinking, oh no, we're going to do that again. But yeah, that first goal for Eddie, and just his overall performance. Some people are saying, "All right, you expect Eddie to do that against that opposition," but I think for me, it was the way he took the third goal. Obviously, we're spinning on a bit, but it was just the third goal. Do you think his achievements, getting the armband, getting his first hat trick, doing it in front of his family, he dedicated it to his aunt who passed away. Do you think all of that will maybe take him to another level now, the belief and the confidence? Or do
I
you
think
think,
so, yeah.
What do you think?
No, for sure. I think it's definitely a big game for him because he's coming now off the back of Gabriel Jesus picking up another injury. And I think when we have Jesus fit, he's our starter in that number 9 role because of what he offers off the ball.
Yeah.
Him and Eddie are such different players, and I do personally love Nketiah, and I think he's so harshly criticized throughout the club. I think as you said, in terms of finishers, he's probably our best. I think he's the only out and out striker that we have in this squad. And that first goal, I mean, that was not a goal of somebody who looks like he's fighting for his space. It looks like it was a goal of a man with a lot of confidence who's there to say that I'm making this my position in the team, and however long Jesus is out for now, I have all the confidence in the world in him. And every goal that he scored, there was 3 amazing goals. And for me, the first one was still my favorite because that turn, he absolutely took the defender out of the game and created so much space for himself. And it was that bit of magic that we needed to break down that really low block. And once we got that goal, I think the confidence in the stadium, from people at home as well, and within the team, they felt, okay, right, we found our way through. And from that point, it looked as though, okay, how many is it going to be? Not a case of are we going to break them down, but how many are we going to get by them at this stage? And it was just that one moment of magic that we had from Eddie, and credit where credit's due. Obviously, he's going to be the man of the match for I think everybody, but he deserves it. It was Eddie Nketiah's day. It was his his game, and as I mentioned, I don't think it was a coincidence. I think it really was him showing, right, I'm here, I'm ready to fight for this position, make it my own. And I think him getting the captaincy band as well was a beautiful touch, which I was really, really happy to see. He deserved it, And again, don't want to jump too far ahead, but I thought he carried himself really well with the captaincy as well. And it was a phenomenal performance throughout from everyone in the team. I don't think there's any single player we could really fault for how they performed on the day. But I think Eddie Nketiah just embodied, that belief and that magic and the massive confidence that we saw in him, which I think sometimes can be missing in him. And it just showed how important it is for him to have, I suppose, the support behind him so that he can have the belief to perform at his best. So, yeah, it was an incredible performance, really, really was. And obviously, the question does come up. Okay, it's only Sheffield United, but they're still a Premier League team. Okay, regardless of how many points they've accumulated up until this point, how they've played, there's still a Premier League team, and it's difficult opposition to go up against. If you think last season we played against Southampton, and how many points do we end up dropping against them? It doesn't really matter where the team is in the league. It was a really dominant I think that's probably the best performance we've had in the Premier League so far this season. And as you mentioned, phenomenal not to concede in the first minute, phenomenal to keep a clean sheet at home. So overall, it was a 10 out of 10 day, and icing on the cake, cherry on the cake was obviously Nketiah and everything he brought.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, because again, going back to the rotation and Arteta, keeping players engaged. We all come. Most of us thought maybe Ramsdale would come in. He's kept Raya in because he's probably thinking he needs a clean sheet. He needs a really quiet game, where nothing kind of is happening really. So he can get that in his locker. He got that. He got Gabriel in. As Neil said, he's had a really great game. He gets a clean sheet. So he goes home happy. ESR comes in. He gets an assist. It wasn't. He showed little glimpses. But you remember, this is his first start in God knows how many games. He goes home with an assist, and obviously Eddie, he gets his hat trick, and yeah, just a great day at the office. And obviously Tomiyasu gets his first goal, which we'll talk about, which was probably the most. I don't think anyone could take a smile off their face in the whole stadium when that happened, and that was an amazing moment. But just going back, Neil, just the one issue which we could kind of say was maybe the reason why Havertz is on the right hand side. Does that kind of mean the left 8 side is still something that's up in the air? It still needs to be it's just a missing piece, really. You know, I know you said Havertz looked like he was doing some bits off the ball, but the fact that he played him on the right hand side, or he deployed him on the right hand side and played ESR on the left, and he kind of had his moments. What would you do in that situation? I mean, would you consider Trossard in that position, or would you persevere with ESR or Havertz? What would you do? Because that just seems to be. I mean, we all kind of can say now categorically that Declan Rice isn't that guy in the left eight. We kind of thought maybe he was if Partey is there behind him, but we think both of them will be more likely using the double pivot rather than Rice being on that left eight further up. He played further up against Chelsea, and he looked a little bit a little bit awkward. It wasn't until he was in the six, where he sort of took control of that midfield. But what would you do in that left eight situation, Neil? I mean, that just for me, it seems to be the one that just still up in the air. Someone needs to lock it down, really. What would you think about that?
Well, that's $1 million question. Thanks. I wish I was paid Arteta's wages to work that one out.
Just say Trossard. I know you want Trossard in there.
I know I'm going to say Trossard. I mean, but I don't know what to say to back it up. But I think that probably would be the ideal. But the thing is with Trossard, he's again when I saw him, he offers something so different for me, and he's so assured and so good with the ball. And I think that we're looking for someone that can kind of do what Xhaka was doing, I guess, in a way, where he was with us in that probably his best season that he's had with us, and we're kind of looking for that kind of player. And is that a Trossard? Is that Emile Smith-Rowe? Clearly there's some experimentation going on with Havertz still, because he's moving him around now, trying to find out where he sits best. I think. If Partey is there, is he going to be back in that midfield? Probably not. I don't think he will, because if both Partey and Rice are fit, for me, they're going to definitely be the starters alongside maybe you've got your Odegaards, you've got Vieira's. Obviously, Odegaard, quite rightly, I think Lawrence said that, he's not been playing well lately. And, to drop your captain's a big call. It's a brave call, but I actually think it was the right one. And that goes to show it doesn't matter who you are and what name you got on the back of the shirt. Arteta can be ruthless when he needs to be. Apart from the goalkeeper situation, Arteta, boss, come on, mate, what are you doing? Get Ramsdale some minutes. I don't know. I think it's so difficult because there's been times where we think Trossard can fit in that position really well. And maybe he doesn't. But is Trossard the kind of player that is as effective always when he starts? Or is Trossard better when he comes on as a sub? So maybe Trossard isn't the answer. With Emile Smith-Rowe, yes, you could potentially say he's the answer, but he's not getting the time. He hasn't had the minutes to demonstrate that he's the one that will cement that position in. So who are you left with? It's a really difficult one for me. I don't know whether Vieira can play that role. I'm really not sure if he can. We do have options. We have got the depth in squad to mess about. But is there something to be said that we're still messing about and experimenting? We're going to be how many games have we already played? 10 games. We played a couple of European games. We've had a League Cup game, and we're still not sure who is best for that position. That's a little bit of a concern for me as well.
Yeah.
But hey, look, we played the way we played against. Yeah, all right, Sheffield United. People can argue, but we can only play who's in front of us, and we beat them 5-0. So is it something that's really a big worry at the moment? I don't know, because despite our little bit of a bad performance against Chelsea, we're still second in the league, and we haven't lost. So in one hand, I think it's concerning, and on the other hand, I'm thinking, well, at the moment, yeah, we're still doing all right and getting by. But is that good enough for a whole season term, especially when we're in two big competitions as well, with one big in Europe? I don't know. I don't know what you think, Michael and Lauren, but I'm kind of a confused state about it for myself.
Yeah. I mean, it's great that we're talking like this off the back of where we are. I'll just correct you there, Neil. We are top of the league because the team at the top don't.
I am so sorry. I
might have to suspend you for that, man. I might have to put you in the timeout.
Suspend me.
I might have to kick you out of the show.
After this, I'm going to go and write my lines. Don't worry.
Yeah, I might have to kick you out of the show for that, Neil.
Yeah,
that's schoolboy error. So we are top of the league. Yeah, we are top of the league. The team at the top, they're just having the fun day out, and when all the serious stuff happens, they'll just revert to type. But yeah, I'll bring the table up at some point just to confirm that we're top and City are second. Okay, cool, all right. Yeah. Final warning, Shah. But it's good that we're talking about all of this. Obviously, where we are and things are going well. Just the one defeat against Lens, which we were in control, and we kind of gave that away and got caught up in the whole atmosphere and everything. But yeah, I mean, talking about, obviously, we've got to talk about Tomiyasu, Lauren. Obviously, his incredible performance against Seville. And the fact that this guy seems to play like 4 positions in the first half. He was popping up as a 10 almost. He almost got in a couple of times. He was left back. He was left 8 again. Maybe you just play him left 8. Yeah, but what I think I sent the question to you, because obviously we've got players that are really invaluable, and obviously Rice is one of those that straight away know that we need this guy. He needs to be fit. We cannot go into any sort of game apart from the one maybe at the weekend without him. Timber probably would have been up at that sort of MVP category. You can kind of say, but with his performance against since this season really, which and especially the one midweek and his goal, obviously, do you think maybe Tomiyasu, just his versatility, do you think he is absolutely, his fitness is fundamental for us to have a successful season?
I'd agree. I honestly think so. I think we're definitely seeing the best of Tomiyasu that we've seen since he's put on an Arsenal jersey. Obviously, that first season he was really good at right back, but then I think he picked up an injury not that far from the end of the season. And yeah, then obviously last year coming back from fitness, he didn't look that sharp, let's be honest. He didn't look as good as we'd seen him before. And I think there was, that right back position. Obviously, when he came on and played at left back against Liverpool, we kind of got a flavour of what he can offer. But I really feel like this season he's become, as you mentioned, one of the most important squad players that we have. And you have a lot of confidence if, God forbid, Ben White or Zinchenko or anybody picked up an injury, that we have a really solid player who's there, who's fighting for his start, who's ready to come on. And, even when he comes on as a sub, he changes the game. And I love that about him. I think he's such a diverse and unique defender to bring on as well, because we don't really have that many players who can play all across the back line. It's incredible. And as you say, going forward, he's such a threat. And while up until this point we haven't really seen him, score or get on the goal on the score sheet, he always seems so threatening when he's in the box. When he's up there, he's creating issues for the opposition. And I was, as you mentioned, I was delighted when he scored. I just had this smile on my face. And again, bringing it back to Nketiah, I love that he really let him have his moment and he was pushing him towards the fans to celebrate, because he seems like such a humble, lovely guy.
Yeah.
And it was really, really great. I thought, obviously Nketiah picked up the band for his amazing performance, but it just shows as well he does have, the head of a leader on him at such a young age. And yeah, it's great. It's great. It was, like I said, it was a pretty phenomenal day out, and I think everyone was happy at the end of it. But delighted for Tomiyasu. I was surprised it was his first goal. Actually, I didn't realize that. Didn't realize that we hadn't seen him score yet. But no, delighted. He definitely deserves it.
Yeah, because he had a difficult season last season with his injuries, and I think he tweeted on his Instagram that he dedicated that goal to his mum who passed away. So again, these players are human. They do have things that go on that we're not privy to. So obviously that could have been a massive reason. That would have been a massive reason why his form wasn't as it was. Obviously, with Eddie as well, with what he dedicated his goal to as well, to his aunt. But yeah, as you said, fantastic to see the reaction to his goal. They cut to the bench with Rice and Saka, massive grins. He seems such a wonderful person. I think he's been very critical of his performances as well. And he knows he just needs to work hard, and he's you want, you don't want people moaning. You just want people just knuckling down and taking accountability, which you spin back 10 years and, Neil would know with, and yourself with the Wenger years where players would just chuck in terrible performance. There was no accountability. Arsene Wenger would just pick the same 11 again. You know what I mean? It was just like, it's like nothing happened the week before. We just chucked in a terrible performance. But these players, they all seem to have that's that. They don't want to let themselves down first and foremost, and that's the key. If you don't let yourself down, you're not letting anybody else down. If you go out and you put in a good performance, you're not letting Arteta down. You're not letting the fans down. So yeah, fantastic stuff for him. Really, really buzzing that he scored. I think there was a little thing with him and White where they hadn't scored. Saliba's scored, Gabriel scored. So he's completed that now. So I think everyone in the defense has scored a goal now. But his fitness is going to be key. I think so as well. It's going to be absolutely key, and that kind of nicely gets us on to two players who seem to always get injured, and it's getting to a point where, Neil, do we? I know you love talking about transfers, but do we?
I'm getting all the awkward questions today. Let me speak about
your
something
punishment
easy.
for your schoolboy error before me. I'm getting you back for that. And but Neil, do you with the Partey situation and Jesus with their injuries, and obviously with what's to come in January, with obviously we're going to lose Tomiyasu because he's going to be away with Japan, the Asia Cup, which is going to be a massive blow considering the way things are at the moment. Partey is going to be away for the African nations. Do we have to look to get some bodies in January rather than leaving it to the summer? Because if Eddie carries on doing what he's doing, great. But I think if we're going to win the league and be successful this year, we're going to need as many people obviously fit as possible. But what are you concerned about these two, that they keep sort of breaking down, picking up these injuries, and do you just think that the club need to strike in January, and can we afford not to with what's at stake?
Well, yeah, I mean, evidently there is an issue because it's happening too frequently. Jesus just come back, looked tremendous before his injury, unbelievably sharp. I mean, it was just wow. Look what he did with his assist and his goal, and then all of a sudden now we've lost him again. Thankfully, Eddie was there. I think Lauren touched on it, but he didn't look like a player that's been sitting on the backstage waiting to come on. He looked like he's been banging goals in left, right, and centre for Arsenal week in, week out. So assured, and you think that, well, like you just said, Michael, if he carries on in that vein, then I guess there's no real immediate concern. I think I've always cried out for another out and out striker at some point, only because Eddie has been indifferent. Look, I'm not going to deny that I've not been, or deny that I've been critical of Eddie. I have, and probably a little bit too much, maybe. And I've always said, I hope he proves me wrong. And I've got egg on my face. He done it yesterday. He done it with aplomb. He was magnificent. Like Lauren said, after he took control and took responsibility, he was brilliant. Giving Tomiyasu a little bit of, you get in the limelight, because I think Tomiyasu is a very shy a nice guy, and he doesn't want to feel like he should take any kind of accolades, if you like. He's one of those, and you're right, guys. We've got a team of players, or a squad of players, that take accountability, because Tomiyasu was the first to say we did badly in that game the other day because it's my fault that they scored. Declan Rice had said that, look, we weren't good enough. That's really good to see. And when you got players in the squad who are like that, you might think that, well, do we want to bring anyone else in and maybe disrupt things? They seem to be all firing and getting on at the moment. So as it stands, with yesterday's performance, with Eddie there, I would say maybe we don't need to rush in for a striker. And you could, and looking at how we are going to get on in the midfield, what he does with Havertz, etc. You got to remember, you got Jorginho there. I know, and I know people are going to laugh at me, but look, when El Neni came on yesterday, he actually looked pretty decent to me. I know he's not going to be a player that's going to be the answer, of course not. But when we need him to come on, maybe for a game or maybe for half a game, yes, you can argue that we were on top of Sheffield United and they weren't offering much. Of course, he's going to look comfortable. If he doesn't, then he's got no place playing football. Just carry on with your coaching badges and don't worry about kicking the ball ever again. But actually, he looked pretty good to me. So we have got options in the midfield as well. But I get it. I going back to Jesus and Partey, the fact that they're breaking down so often, I hate to say this, but yeah, I think we do need to look at options. Are we going to look in January though? January is always a difficult window, isn't it?
Yeah,
But a lot of clubs, what club is going to look to give away a good player, especially in those positions? They're hard to come by. And out striker, a commanding midfielder. It's going to be
yeah,
unlikely. The only possibility is we get someone on loan. Again, do we want to go down that road? I think if we're going to change, Michael, I don't think it's going to come until the summer. However, you're right. We could be in another very strong position at Christmas, January. We could be fighting for the league. Well, we are, of course, we're winning it, so we are going to be fighting for the league, and we're going to be going further in all the other competitions as well. So we are going to need the depth. I think
yeah,
we've just got to wait and see how things are. Let's wait for another 3-4 weeks. Let's
yeah.
see how things are in December, and then maybe we can address it again or look at it again. But yeah, it's a
Mm.
valid point to make for sure, because it is concerning their recurring injuries, definitely.
Yeah, just I'm sure that's something that they're looking at. We can kind of hope that last season, obviously, we were trying to get Mudryk in, weren't we? And then we pivoted to Trossard, and that's worked out pretty well. And he was brilliant when he came on as well. He looked full of energy and tried to make things happen as well. But yeah, I think we're going to have to get somebody in, like try at least try. There hasn't been any links, which is surprising, because normally there is. So normally there's stuff floating around. Ornstein's normally saying something by now, but not yet, because I think maybe things are going well. But yeah, just touching on Eddie and the performance again, Lauren. Just the goals, so I read something online, and it was just about people who were saying about his goals. The first goal was, if you don't think he's got any composure, you look at the first finish. If you don't think he's got like the awareness and stuff, you look at the second one. And if you don't think he's got the ability, look at his third finish. And I think it took everyone's breath away the way he smacked that one in. But I think the game at the weekend, I think will he play Wednesday? I'm not sure, but I think the game against Newcastle is going to be a good test, because they've got some big lumps at the back, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does up against them. But I personally think that what he achieved once he soaks it in and everything, I think that will just take his confidence up to another level. And as we all know, the confidence, you've got the swagger and everything, then that's massive. But yeah, what are you thinking about Wednesday? Obviously we've got the squad, as Neil said. We've got the squad, and we should be trying to go through all avenues really, as we can. But what would you do in that regard? Do you think it's going to be half and half again, maybe a little bit like we saw yesterday, or because West Ham obviously had a bad result today? I'd imagine David Moyes will want to rotate that as well a little bit. So what would you do for the Declan Rice derby?
I think, if we just stay on Nketiah for a bit longer. I don't know if anyone's playing a drinking game to see how many times we say the word Nketiah today. They're going to be very drunk at the end. But to be honest, when you look at the squad, yes, we have depth, but without Jesus, who else do we have to play in that number 9 role? Yeah, you might want to play Havertz there, but really it's Nketiah's. It's his for the taking now, and even look, West Ham, they're obviously a good team, but they are probably going to play a rotated side. I still don't see Nketiah being dropped or being rested for this game. I think he's going to be starting there and starting against Newcastle as well. I really don't see any other option, to be completely honest. Maybe, depending how things are going, we might see Havertz playing that role for a little bit, or maybe a false 9. I'm not really sure, but I still am not really convinced by Arsenal and the false 9. And just to go back to Neil's point as well, if Jesus continues on this course of injuries every 2-3 weeks, we're going to have to do something. We really are, because we can't rely on Nketiah, and it's not because of his lack of ability or anything. It's just to create that the option if he picks up an injury, or if something happens to him, or when the games are coming in thick and fast, how are we going to manage his game time as well, which is something to think about. But I think if you look at Wednesday, there's no one else really, is there? So I think he'll probably be playing, and I think I think he deserves it, absolutely. My thought there and my hesitation to start him would be Newcastle, that's a heavy game again coming up now.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
Mm.
that's the only thing there. In terms of the rest of the squad, I think, as you both mentioned, Kirior will probably start again. I wouldn't really mind seeing Saliba being rested just to be on the safe side. Midfield, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Declan Rice didn't play. I think it might be a game where he's rested. It might be Jorginho in there, Smith Rowe, maybe Havertz. I think Vieira as well. I thought he played
Yeah.
really, really well. I didn't even mention his penalty in the other game, but I thought he played really well when he
Yeah.
came on. He's so much fight, and I think he really is the surprise player of the season, even
Mm.
ahead of Tomiyasu. Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible,
Yeah.
incredible. So yeah, I don't know. I think there will be some rotation, but I think we're probably going to see a lot of the same names that we did see this weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. I mean, he could go Havertz big up top against Newcastle because of their big physical, big side, and maybe make us have an outlet, and maybe go more direct. Because because Eddie's got a good engine on him. He's hardly ever injured, so he could easily, like you said, he could play both of those games. Keep him in the rhythm, so to speak. He's hot. He's on a hot streak, so just keep him involved. What about yourself, Neil? Are you thinking maybe obviously Trossard will start? I'll imagine will come in. Another thing I'll just talk about is Saka. Obviously, you've got to give props to Saka to do what he achieved. A special moment for him to be captain. To actually at the Emirates, obviously he finished the game against was it against Chelsea as captain, and and he was captain yesterday. So big up to him. Special moment for him and the Arsenal Academy. Really, I don't know if there has been a situation where two academy players have captained the club in the same game. In the Premier League. I don't think that's probably happened before. I'm not sure, but yeah, special moment for those two. But just talking on him, I mean, because again, he looked a little bit. There were a couple of occasions I saw where Rice was pointing for him to run somewhere he didn't run. And there was another situation where White was pointing at him or gesticulated to him to do something or move, and he didn't. So it just seems to be a little bit of funk, at the moment. Do you think that's because he hasn't had any sort of competition really in that position? Because if you look on the other side, your boy Martinelli was doing bits last season, right up until December, and we've got Trossard. Trossard came in, was doing bits, absolutely madness, assists everywhere. And what did that do to Martinelli? He was out looking in a little bit, but when he came in, he stepped up. He met the challenge. He kept on going right up until now to the goal that he scored the other day. Do you think that's something? Again, that's something that needs to be addressed. It seems like it's something that Arteta's thought about, because obviously we were looking at Rafinha. But do you think that might be the thing that needs to get to light Saka's fire again, really, in terms of having that genuine quality, competition in the squad to just get him back up again? Because he's got the ability, we know he's got the ability, but just that little bit of sharpness. What do you think, Neil?
Oh, look, 100%. I think the thing is, we have been spoiled by Saka because he's been so good. Probably, I don't think anyone expected us or him to be that good. I mean, we always knew he had potential, but to be world class almost, if not, no, he's world class. What am I saying? I'm making too many mistakes today, Michael. Of course, he's world class. Of course, we're top of the table. Stop it. I think it's a combination of not playing so much. I still think he hasn't had a proper rest. But I also think, yes, there is a competition element as well. And we have got the answer. And everyone always has a go at me. Nelson's the answer at the moment. We don't play him. I think Nelson's a tremendous player and he can play on that right-hand side. Look, there was a moment last season where Jesus could come on and play on the right, and maybe he could have been. Was it just last season, this season? I'm losing track of time now. But Jesus can do that role, but he's injured. Yeah. So, we Nelson for me is a possibility, a very strong possibility, or a strong candidate. And maybe we play him on Wednesday. Why not? I mean, there's no reason. I know, look, West Ham are going to be a tough team. Of course they are. It's a London derby at the end of the day. We have far too many of them. People seem to forget the fact that, all right, keep lauding on what Man City are doing. They only play about 2 derbies a season. We're playing how many? 16 at the moment? I mean, It's a big, big thing. And it's going to be a tough game. But this is where you blood players. And I would really go for Nelson to give Saka not just a rest, but to maybe give him something to think about if Nelson has a good game.
Yeah.
And maybe that's it. Because at the moment, there's not many other options. All right, look, I know Jack from the Purely Arsenal has always said we need to look at getting someone in on that right-hand side to give Saka not only competition, but as a replacement as and when we need to, if there's, God forbid, any injuries or suspensions. So, that's there's that thing. But Nelson signed a contract. What for? Because he hasn't featured much. I keep advocating players who don't get played, don't I? I mean, but there is a reason to the madness. He signed a long-term contract and he's not playing. So give him a chance on Wednesday. Why not?
Yeah.
And let's see what he can bring to the table. And I just want to say as well quickly, the fact about Eddie and Vieira, and the fact that he didn't take that fourth, he could have created history by becoming the third player only to score 4 goals in a match. And look how he spoke so well afterwards. And he said, because Vieira's expecting a baby anytime soon, and I wanted to give it to him to dedicate it to that reason. And oh my God, do you know what, Eddie? You have gone up in my estimation, something chronic today. I take it all back. You are fabulous. And I now understand what Arteta is seeing in you.
Because I think all of that, just even how he carried himself afterwards and how he's spoken so well about what he's achieved and his actions as well. I just think, just saying, obviously, as Lauren's mentioned earlier, I just think that's maybe brought his level up. His belief. He's always had the belief, but the confidence as well. But I just think that will just bring him up a different level in terms of just how he's received now. He scored a hat-trick in the Premier League. It's not something that people do very, very easily. It's like, I think Lauren was saying, it's like, it's only, people say it's only Sheffield United, but you guys have noticed, all the pundits, all the analysts, everyone says the Premier League is the most competitive league in the world until Arsenal beat somebody. Oh, it's only them. It's only such and such. But when everyone else beats it, look how competitive the Premier League is. It's such a great league. When Arsenal beat something, it's only, you should have beaten them. It's only them. So it's go on.
I didn't realise it was the last hat trick was by Aubameyang. I didn't realise it was that long ago in the Prem by an Arsenal player. Wow, gosh, that is So they're not easy to come by. They're not easy things to do. And stupid people will say, "Oh yeah, it's only a Sheffield United." It's still a Premiership football team. They're professional players. They're not amateurs. They're not novices. They're not 11-0 Shahs that kick a football around the park and don't even know how to kick a ball. These are professional football players. Come on. So it's a good achievement. By the way, also on Wednesday, Ramsdale has to play. He's got to.
Yeah. I imagine we will start in that one. He has to. But just before we go on and just get our predictions for Wednesday and the weekend against Newcastle, which is going to be a very tough one. Also, I just want to show Neil this, that the top of the table, you can see Arsenal there at the top, and Man City in second place. It's just like last season all over again, isn't it? Everyone. So I don't know what Neil. Neil profusely apologises, so you can see Arsenal there, top of the table, 24 points. City level. We're just above on goal difference. I don't know what you two are laughing at.
No, I'll blame the painkillers for my back. All right, give me a break.
Yeah, I've got my glasses today, but I can see clearly that Arsenal are top of the table. Great stuff.
Lauren, save me from this, please.
There's not like to say here.
So just before we finish, so you guys are hoping, expecting a tough game on Wednesday, but you think we'll progress extra time? Oh no, not extra time anymore, is it? Penalties, odd goal. What do you think? What do you think, Lauren?
I think we'll win. I don't think we'll need extra time or penalties or anything. I think we'll win. I think it's going to be a tight game. I do, and I think they're definitely going to come out pretty hungry for it. Probably more hungry than we are, to be honest. But I think we've enough squad depth there. And look, do you know what? Even if it's not the weight of the competition, it's the weight of fighting for your place. And as we mentioned, Arteta does seem to be more open to rotating players now. And every single player who starts on Wednesday is going to think, look, I have an opportunity to start in the Premier League or Champions League game now, even if it's not against Newcastle directly this weekend. Maybe it's the game after that or the game after that. So I think the players who do get the chance to play, like I said, I think heavy rotation should be expected. But yeah, and I'm also fully in agreement with all the players that Neil mentioned there as well. I'd love to see Nelson get a good run, Smith Rowe as well, Trossard. They deserve it. Everything we've seen from them so far this season. Yeah, but I'm pretty confident going into it. Newcastle, I think Newcastle is going to be slightly tougher. Obviously they're a difficult team to go up against, but I still think we should be aiming to come away from that. I think minimum a draw from that. You know, tough, obviously, and I'm not trying to play that down in any way, but I do think, look, they don't exactly have the squad depth we do. They have a very tough Champions League group as well, which they're going to be looking towards as well, you know, for the following week. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think we'll have enough there. Yeah, exactly. So
as well. So yeah, it could be interesting. So yeah. Neil, you concur with Lauren? So straightforward win on Wednesday and turn over Newcastle again after we did. I think they're still a bit smarting from the performance we had against them last season when we were beaten 2-0, and it was really physical game. That was really a lot of stuff going off in that game. But yeah, you thinking we'll be all right for those two?
Yeah, I don't think Wednesday's going to be straightforward. It's a cup game. It's not going to be straightforward. Yeah. Can't expect it to be. But you'd like to think that we will come on top of that, especially if these younger players or these fringe players that haven't had much of a chance want to go out there and really prove something to themselves and to the club and to the manager. I think they'll give as good as they can possibly give, and hopefully that'll be enough to carry us through. I don't know whether it's going to go penalties or whatnot, but I think on paper we should do them, in 90 minutes. Hopefully, Newcastle is a tough one. It really is. I always think that we're going to win every single game, and but I've got to draw back a little bit and think. I'll take a draw. Obviously, I want to win, but you would take a draw. It's not the easiest places to go to. But look. Two seasons very contrasting, weren't they? They killed us the season before last, and then everyone was worried. Oh yeah, let's see what Arsenal do against you. And we were all right. And you talk about physicality. We've got it now. We've got strong big players now, and we've got them. We've got the Havertz. We've got Kyrgios. We've got Tough. We've got Rice. He doesn't mess about, does he? What I love about Rice is he goes into tackles, but he wins them fairly. He hardly ever makes a mistake. It's fantastic. That's the difference. We've got Rice this season for Newcastle away. I think that's going to be massive. I'm going to go both wins. Why not?
Oh, great stuff. Well, we saw what Rice could do, especially in the second half against Chelsea, where he kind of dragged us through to get that point. So yeah, totally agree with that. Newcastle, going to be tough, difficult. We've had some difficult games there, even with the the great teams we've had. You think of the 4-4 as well. That's where we had that, wasn't it? 4-0 up at half time, and I don't know why I brought that up, but anyway. But
that's a bad one on you now. We'll get you.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to end the show now. All right, Neil. All right. Right, but yeah. On that note, thanks, Lauren, for your time. Really appreciate it. It's been, as I said, it's been great to have you back, and hopefully have you back very soon. And hopefully it'll be good luck charm again. When you come back on, we'll be talking about another 5-0 win.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Nice one. Thank you for coming on. And Neil, again, always appreciate your time, my friend, and hope your back gets a little bit better well.
Yeah.
And obviously talking about Arsenal wins will make it a little bit more comfortable and sweeter for you. So thanks for your time again. Thanks to everyone for watching, for sharing, for liking, and for subscribing on the channel. That continues to grow. Really appreciate all the support and feedback and the comments that are left as well. We'll be back, probably not after the West Ham game, but probably back after the Newcastle one. We'll talk about what's happened in the Arsenal multiverse from then. So thank you guys. Have a lovely rest of the week, and come on, you Reds.
Remember, Giroud into the box, and they have immediately.